Um, welcome. My eyes hurt really bad. Wow, I've been looking at a computer screen like literally all day. I'm gonna give people a couple minutes to join. Let me also, oh my god, I put way too much lemon in that water. Let me also go on TikTok. Sorry I'm 15 minutes late. I thought I was gonna get home at 6 and I didn't get home till 6:40. So that kind of put a damper in my style. Hi. Oh, let me sit closer to my mic. A big piece of feedback I got is that you can't hear me. So I'm going to try and I want to get headphones with a mic on it, and B, like spend money on that, and C, like also sit closer to this mic while I'm using it. I want to talk about teacher horror stories today. Oh, sorry, I had to burp. A lot of people submitted their stories to me, like a lot of people. Oh my god, good, now people are here. Hi besties. A lot of people submitted to me. I got over 100 submissions. I gathered together 50. I just picked them based on like, I got a lot of similar stories, so I would try and just get like as many different things as possible, if that makes sense. So if you submitted a story, and then will I be able to see this later? Yeah, it'll be saved on there. Don't worry. All of them will. What was I about to say? If you submitted a story and you wanted it to be on here and it wasn't on here, I'm sorry. Feel free to submit it again. Feel free to DM me on Twitter and be like, hey, I submitted it. Oh, you love my shirt? This is Fraz merch. This is Miss Frazzle merch. So teaching is political. Does it come up like, can you read it correct? Like it's doing it, like it flipped it so you can read. I actually, fun fact, never wore this to work because I was afraid that Ron DeSantis would come and kill me. One time I had a nightmare. I think I might have already told this story, I don't remember. And one time I had a nightmare that I was like teaching, and I was like wearing one of the shirts that I wear, like just kind of history shirts. I had a nightmare that I was teaching, and then my principal texted me and was like, Ron DeSantis is here. Like, he's campaigning and he's here and he needs to come observe your classroom. And I was like, oh my God, today's the day I'm going to die. And I woke up and I was like, I'm nervous he's going to walk in when I'm wearing my RBG sweatshirt. And like, there's no way anyone would let Ron DeSantis near me. You know, like his team would take one look at my room and be like, absolutely not. Absolutely not. Oh my God, holy shit. There's already 128 people here. When the fuck did that happen? Okay, so let's go ahead and get into it. I wish I had a bigger computer screen. I'm going to make this little because I'll still be able to read it. And I appreciate everyone that's like super chill, nice, cute, and gorgeous about the fact that I'm like really not, like I don't know what I'm doing here. Like I'm very much not, I don't very much not having my life together as a streamer. All right, let me keep up with the chat. Hold on. I love having nightmares about our public representatives. I need to go to therapy. I don't have time to go to therapy. I need to make time to go to therapy. My new job just ends so late. I really like it, but the schedule is kind of like an adjustment for me because I'm used to getting home at like 2:30 and now I get home at like 6, which is a big difference. But I have really enjoyed having so much time in the mornings. Like I'm used to being really rushed in the morning. But it's been nice because I've been waking up at the same time. So I have like 2.5 hours to like work out. I've been drinking my coffee outside. Like I've really liked that. So I think it's taking some adjusting, but it's fine. DeSantis came to my university today. It did not go well per the COVID drama. What's the COVID drama? What was the drama? Mr. Redacted, I'll be your therapist. Zoom therapy during lunch. Yeah. So like, I don't like Zoom therapy. I did it once and I'm not a fan. I'm thinking I need to get the fuck over myself because it's the most realistic option. I can't do it during lunch because I don't really have like a private place to do it. And I just like, after therapy, I like to like relax, and like I don't want to like go to therapy and then be like, let me answer these emails, Okay, let me not get fucking distracted from once in my life and actually get started. So basically, I have a Google form where you can submit teacher horror stories. I went through them and picked 50 of them. I got over 100 submissions. I just want to say that your TikToks, amongst other things, made me come to the realization that as much as I love the idea of secondary teaching, going in academia is best. Oh, I'm glad I provided clarity to you. Can everybody hear me okay? Let me know if you can't really hear me. And let me do something to fix that. Yeah. Midday therapy is not it. How many submissions did you get for this? So I made this like PowerPoint slide deck, whatever you call it. Sound is great. Fuck yeah. So I made this slide deck on Sunday, and on Sunday I had 102 submissions, and then I looked today and I want to say I had 110. The link is in everything, I think. Like, I know it's in my link tree. So on Twitter and TikTok, I'm pretty sure I put it on Twitch. If I didn't, I'll post it. But yeah, so I went through and picked 50 that kind of just like stood out to me. The only reason if I didn't include one, the only reason I didn't include it is probably because there was a very similar one to it, or like, not to be shady, but it was just like written in a way that was really confusing and I didn't really understand what you were talking about. So I was just like, we're just gonna move on with this. And then some of them were from kids that were like, I love kids. It was like, I didn't do my homework and my teacher gave me a 0 and didn't let me make it up. And I was like, I'm sorry, but I'm sorry you're going through that, but we have bigger fish to fry right now. Yes, the link is on Twitch. Oh, look at me having my life together. No manager. Not to get you distracted today, but can we get your zodiac chart? Yeah. Y'all, when I was a teacher, the kids would get me so distracted literally every day. Like, anything would happen, and I would just get so fucking distracted. They would be like, what were you like in college? What's the worst thing that's ever happened to you? They'd be like, well, how old were you when you had your first boyfriend? Like, they would literally just ask questions about my life. And I'd be like, okay, so one time I was working at this place, blah, blah, blah. Are you going to do this again? My mom is a teacher and has a wild one to submit. My goal is to do this a couple times a month. I want to do it at least every other week. I would like to do it more than every other week, but absolutely. Okay. My sun is in Capricorn. I'm a Capricorn. My moon is in Aquarius, and my rising is in Libra. I have so much Aquarius in my chart. I actually got like a professional reading, and I have like a fuck ton of Aquarius in my chart. It's actually really disturbing. But let me stop getting distracted. So what the hell are we doing here? There's kind of like a couple reasons why I wanted to do this. The students need to be heard. Yes, I know students need to be heard. A lot of these stories are from students, but students submitting that they are failing due to not doing their homework, there's a lot I could say to them directly. It's not really the moment right now. But anyway, let me focus. So one is my selfish reasoning for wanting to do this is I saw so much insane shit and I wanted to see if I was alone in that. I was like, are other people experiencing this? Like, am I crazy or is this happening lots of places? And so I was like, let me just do this partially just to see what people say. 2, I wanted the others to know. So like anytime I spoke at like a party or around people at a like just a non-teacher event, like literally anywhere. And I would like say things like really casually because I'm so desensitized to like everything. And people would be like, oh my God, that's not okay. That's happening. And like the thing I noticed is I was at a couple parties with some of my boyfriend's friends and they were like shocked that these things happen in the city that we live in and like that the public schools that are run by like the public school system that their kids attend, like these things happen in it. So I was like, I think a lot of people just literally don't know. And I think a lot of kids see things and don't tell their parents about it because the kids don't really know that that's not supposed to be happening is something I've also observed. 3, I wanted to give people a way to like share about this because I never felt comfortable like talking about this stuff. Like I'm sure y'all have seen my unhinged TikToks, like I've talked about some stuff now, but like I didn't feel comfortable talking about the fact that I was getting yelled at all the time. I didn't feel comfortable talking about the fact that like things that would happen to my students at school. Like I just didn't want to talk about them because obviously I could get, do you accept actual student submissions? Yes. Anyone can submit to this. Paraprofessionals, office staff, parents, teachers, students, anyone that like engages with the public school system or a private school, like anyone who engages in a school can submit to this. So 3, I wanted to give people a way to share because I didn't ever feel comfortable talking about these things when I was in the classroom because like obviously if I post about it and then it gets back to somebody, then my principal gets in trouble and then I get in trouble and then I'm making like tension for me that I have to deal with every day. So I wanted to give people a way they could share anonymously and yeah. In my attempt to hold leaders accountable, like I'm hoping that throughout this, more parents and more like community members learn about this shit and then like go to school board meetings and start asking elected officials about this shit because public schools are a government run entity were you a part of a teacher union? Yes, I was, and I had a really negative experience with it. They were really corrupt. They also really gaslit me. That was a big part of the reason I left, is because I started going to the union, and even they were terrible. They have like fraudulent elections. It's really, really horrifying. I'm a very pro-union person. Like, I ride or die for unions. I'm very pro-union, but a lot of teachers' unions in red states are not really unions, in my opinion. You know, live, laugh, love, Florida. So yeah, I'm hoping that, you know, because the government runs schools, we need to like fucking hold people accountable for this bullshit, you know, because whenever you see a video of like something terrible happening in a school, or a teacher like does something to a kid, like whenever you see these news stories, the problem is not isolated to whatever that video is. That is the problem that starts at the top, like lack of funding trickling down, bad policy trickling down. So I'm hoping that when people kind of see the reality of shit, they'll kind of yell at the government. Dumb question, what exactly do unions do? Not a dumb question. It's a great question. So a union is for collective bargaining. So the point of a union is so that all the workers come together and then they fight for like better pay and better treatment and better rights or whatever. So like if I go ask my boss like, hey, I want a raise, I want to make $10,000 more a year, my boss can just be like, no, fuck off, I don't care. And then just like I can quit or get fired or whatever. But if every employee together is like, hey, we want a raise, then the management, the boss, like kind of has to take that serious, because if all the employees leave at once, it's going to like cause a problem for their business. So it's a union is just a collective group of employees like fighting for improvement or whatever. My sister just Snapchatted me. Is it baloney? No, it's not. She was just making fun of my story. So yeah, so let's get into it. Let's get to talking. I have like really scatterbrained today. Sorry. I'm like in training at work right now, so all I've been doing is trainings, and like my brain is like really tired from that. Okay, so some of these are anonymous, some of them name districts, some of them name schools, which I love when people are petty. That's like my number one favorite thing in the world. Okay. So this was anonymous. I was a first-year teacher at the start of August 2021. I taught lower elementary. There were so many issues, but one that made me decide to leave was only 3 months into my teaching career was the worst. I went to my principal. Also, I'm like a terrible reader. Like I skip words and say things wrong. I'm really sorry. I can like do it if I focus, but I like want to get through these. The principal asked for advice, and she looked me dead in the face and said, it doesn't matter, just do your best for the rest of the year because I'm not hiring you back. This was in October. I left at Thanksgiving break after crying daily and not recognizing the person I had become. Oh, thank you for liking the presentation theme. I got it on SlidesGo. It was free. If you guys want me to post the link later, I can. I have it saved, but it's like way deep in my computer, so it'll take a minute. So this story like really kind of like struck with me because October is when I got my life together. Like I got hired in August, and then I was not a good teacher. I was trying really hard, and I was good at building relationships, and I was like good at classroom management, whereas like some things that I had the like just kind of not natural abilities, but like I don't know, I just like had transferable skills and natural abilities, but like in actually making kids learn, like I didn't know how to do that. So like I'm really grateful that my first year, my first principal was very kind and very patient and very positive with me. Like he would only ever say positive things to me and try and like build my confidence, and then he would let the district rip me apart, but he didn't really have control over that. So it's just like I can't imagine having the principal say that to you in October, because I remember how I felt in October, and I was just really defeated and really like tired of being bad at my job. So this makes me sad. Okay, at my last teaching job, I was being horrendously underpaid at $100 a day with a master's degree because my admin did not have enough, coverage, they took all my planning periods for me to cover other classes. I was working basically nonstop, 7:30 to 3 p.m. every single day, some days not even getting a lunch without having to watch students during my lunch. I started getting horrible migraines and was denied PTO for sick days, so I was basically living off ibuprofen for months, throwing up in school, etc. When I finally started looking for other teaching jobs in my area, my admin found out, went behind my back, and confronted me about a job I was offered before I was even notified. I didn't fully realize how much they took advantage of me until I finally left the district. I'm going to be honest, this is one of like the worst ones that I got, in my opinion. Like the fact that they were under this much physical stress, and it sounds really toxic about like not being allowed to put in PTO for sick days. Like it really makes me sad. And I also think like I'm not trying to be shady towards teachers by saying this at all. I'm not trying to like victim blame. But one thing that I've noticed is a lot of teachers who have not worked outside of education. Like before I became a teacher, I worked at a hotel, I worked in the service industry for a while. Like, you know, I did some other things. I've noticed a lot of people that go straight into teaching, they don't really know as many of like the norms of like professionalism, if that makes sense. Like when they get denied sick days, like they don't know that that's not okay because they haven't been in another environment. You know what I mean? So I think like a lot of newer teachers who haven't worked in other fields have like not a harder time setting boundaries, but like they don't really know that that's a boundary that needs to be set. And again, not trying to victim blame because they should have just like given you the fucking PTO. That would have been the right thing to do. But I don't know. That is something that I've thought about a lot in the education world. So this is from Wharton, Texas. Again, I'm going to try my best on pronunciations. My friend at my old district was stabbed and beaten by a student in a classroom. The student then started shouting out he was going to bring a gun and shoot everyone, but because he is a 13-year-old with a 504 plan, not special ed, and I have a little description of what that is, admins didn't want to touch it and let him come to school the next day with no repercussions. So for those of you that are outside of education, a 504 plan is basically a plan to give a student like extra resources or accommodations for them to be successful, so they are not in like a special ed classroom and it's not special ed. I'm not an expert on this, by the way, so if I'm wrong, I'm sorry. But it's basically like a plan for accommodations, I guess how I would describe it. And one thing that I have noticed and experienced is that a lot of administrators are not like properly trained on how to handle a lot of this paperwork, and it does have legalities to it. And so I've noticed a lot of administrators are intimidated to handle the situations or do anything because they don't want to get in like legal trouble. But in my opinion, like they just need to be trained on like how to handle these things the legal and correct way. Like doing nothing is not just an okay alternative. Oh my gosh, I never thought about the real threat of this for teachers in the US. Yeah, I've been in a couple code reds. Like there's been multiple times that there was like gun violence and I was like in the classroom with kids. It's not fun. It was teaching high school. I didn't have any terrible experience like that. We definitely had code reds, but none of them were like, they were issues that were happening a couple blocks away. So we went on code red because we were a school and we were close, but it was like, I wasn't that scared because like if you're having like a violent altercation, you're not going to, and you're evading the police, you're not going to run towards a school that's full of police. So like none of those really rattled me too bad, but I had to do a code red when I taught early Head Start in an infant classroom, and doing a shooter drill in an infant classroom changed something in me forever. Part of me changed that day. So this one's from Wharton, Texas. They said, not this specific situation, but students threatening teachers and coaches is common. I have seen that a lot as well. Okay, so this is a video clip from the news about that situation. I don't know if this audio is going to work or anything. Is a code red a lockdown drill? Yes, a code red is a lockdown drill. I don't know if this video is going to work or if this is going to get like taken down for copyright. I don't know if you'll be able to hear it. I don't know anything is really what I'm trying to communicate right now, but let's watch it.
Only on 2 safety concerns in Wharton ISD after recent physical assaults on teachers by students.
KPRC2 has learned of at least 2 incidents under investigation by the district. A teacher working there sharing concerns about the violence and believes that more needs to be done. Keith Garvin joining us now with the very latest on what these teachers say is a problem on campus. Keith?
Dominic, Chris, we are on the campus that temporarily houses both the junior high school and the high school, and teachers say the issues here really became more prevalent when the district added the 6th grade to the junior high. They say they simply don't have enough teachers to discipline students, and they claim the superintendent doesn't allow them to do so anyway.
I want the school board to acknowledge that our district is in serious trouble.
According to at least one teacher in Wharton ISD, conditions at the junior high and high school are bad and in danger of getting more out of hand. She asked to not be identified, but the district has addressed a few of her concerns, including the incident that led to what you see in these pictures. A teacher with bruises on her leg and marks on her hand from a pencil attack from a student who allegedly threatened the lives of teachers and fellow students.
Saying that he was going to kill everyone on campus.
Several teachers tell KPRC2 the student was in a math class on September 23rd when he made the threat to a substitute. Hearing the commotion, another teacher came to help, and a struggle between that teacher and the student ensued when they say the student reached for his backpack.
He's hurting her, and so she lets go of one of his hands, and it happens to be the hand with the pencil in it, so he starts stabbing her other hand.
That's not their only concern.
Okay, sorry, I wasn't going to pause it, but I like what someone said. At my school, we need a whole year of social emotional learning, and then we need to truly put students in grade levels that would be successful. Like, we need a factory reset. That's part of why I left teaching, is because the government didn't do that. Like, I feel like anyone with more than one brain cell can recognize that we should not have just carried on business as usual. And so the fact that not a single district in America, at least that I'm aware of, did that, I was like, yeah, I can't work here, because, like, literally anyone with thoughts would come to the conclusion that we need to change the curriculum. But, like, the kids doing third grade curriculum right now, it's like the same thing as it was pre-COVID. You know, oh God, let me let you watch this.
This past Friday, we were told a high school coach was attacked by his own
This is
players
crazy.
during halftime.
When they were in the locker room, coach was giving his whole speech during halftime, and when he turned around, one of the students punched him in the face, and one or two other boys joined in.
In a statement to KPRC, a Wharton ISD spokesperson says, "We're aware of 2 incidents that have been investigated, and appropriate actions are in the process of being taken." In the meantime, teachers believe problems will persist if they're unable to assign students to detention or even send them to the principal's office.
They have no discipline. My superintendent said we are not allowed to give out discipline.
Yeah, and teachers tell us another issue they have on this campus is they don't have a communication system to contact campus police or administrators during an emergency. They say they largely have to use their own cell phones.
Yeah, so in my classroom, I was in the same classroom my entire high school, like, teaching experience. My emergency button did not work the entire time I was in that classroom, and I also did not have a phone in my room, and I also did not really have cell phone service in my room. So occasionally when something would happen, like, it was rare, not that many things happened. Like, I really think I have a guardian angel. Like, really, not that many things happened. But, like, one time a girl, like, got dizzy and passed out, and then, like, you know, stuff, like, she was okay. But anyway, when anything like that would happen, I would literally just have to make a student athlete run. I'd just find, like, whoever in the class was, like, you know, athletic, and I would just be like, run, go get somebody. Like, that was the case. Yeah, the emergency button. So it's like a panic button that you can press, and it, like, rings the office, and it's like, hey, shit's going down. So, like, if there was, like, a fire, not a fire, you'd pull a fire alarm, my dumbass. So if there was, like, a fight, or, like, a kid had a medical emergency, or, like, if I, like, passed out, the kids would have to press it. Like, it was just broken the whole time. I took education courses in college thinking about wanting to be a teacher, but learning the school system made me so depressed. I felt like a failure, but thank you for sharing your leaving position. Reset the system. Yeah, exactly. No, we're done. Okay. Content warning. This submission does talk about sexual assault. So I did just want to give a warning and give everybody a second to pop off if they, like, not pop off like yell, but, like, pop off the thing. If they do not want to hear this, and then you can just tune back in momentarily. All right, so a 5th grader posted a TikTok about his plans to rape a classmate. It was reported to the administration. Nothing was done. Parents weren't called. Parents were not even called. This is what I mean. A lot of parents don't know. And that student did not face any consequences for his threat. A few months later, another student exposed himself to younger students in a Zoom call. Again, no parents were called and no serious consequences were given until it happened again the following day. Your child could be sexually assaulted and you would have no idea. Administration knew that there were sexual predators and did nothing to protect the victims. And this is from Greenville, South Carolina. Yeah. So yeah, that's terrifying. Yeah, that's what I mean. A lot of parents really don't know. I honestly, like, this is horrifying that this happened. I've never experienced anything really even close to this, so I don't have a ton to like share about it, but thank you to the person that submitted this, because I think stuff like this happens way more than many people realize and would think is happening at their child's school. This is also from Greenville, South Carolina, but they were submitted at different times, so I don't know if it was the same person. I don't know. So I had a student reading on a kindergarten level in 4th grade. His special education teacher and I both asked administration to retain him. Retain means hold back, like you're going to repeat the grade. Retain him 1 year so he could continue working on being closer to grade level. Administration said no, because it makes our school look bad to have high retention numbers. Essentially, students are pushed into the next grade and eventually become the middle school's problem. And of course, middle schools don't want their stats to look bad for retention, so they let them go to high school until they're old enough to drop out. And yes, this happens all the time. So I taught 11th grade, and I have taught many students who were on lower than a 5th grade reading level. I've taught many kids who are on a 1st, 2nd, 3rd grade reading level because of exactly this right here. It looks bad for a school to be holding kids back, because the district's like, well, what's wrong with you? Why aren't they learning? Why are you holding them back? That's wrong. And plus, parents can get upset at that too. So many times kids just get pushed all the way through. I have taught so many kids that, again, are on an elementary school reading level in high school. It's not their fault in any way. Many of them are incredibly intelligent, but once you get behind, it's very, very hard to catch up, because everything you're being presented with is too difficult for you. So it's really difficult to engage and get better. So like if a high school student is on a 5th grade reading level and all they're being presented with is 11th grade material, they're not really going to be improving their reading skills, because they're not really able to engage in it. Like they need to be doing like 6th grade material, 7th grade material. Schools don't even care about teaching the kids. It's so depressing. That's so sad. What happens, they fall behind socially as well. Some kids, yes. Some kids, no. It really varies on the kids. Some kids I've been really surprised at, like some kids who are extremely, extremely intelligent. They can talk about difficult concepts. They can explain things to others. They understand nuance to situations. They have amazing social skills. Then when you sit down and try and read with them, it's very, very hard for them. So it really depends on the kid. I've seen some kids who have amazing social skills and are very behind in reading. And I've seen some kids who also it has affected them socially as well. I have non-readers in my 4th grade class who I know did nothing when they were remote. It's unfair to push them through. Yeah, my friend teaches 5th grade, and she has a lot of kids who just like literally had 0 attendance last year, like didn't come at all, like, and they're not being retained. They give up so quickly. My school had a transitional 1st grade to try and catch this problem early. That's what I think is a really good idea, is more flexibility in elementary grades. This is why the average reading level in the U.S. is at a 7th and 8th grade level. That's the average American is at a 7th or 8th grade reading level, and the average news article is written at an 11th grade reading level. So that tells you a lot of what you need to know. I don't know how they expected kindergartners to do Zoom. They literally can't read. How are they supposed to use a computer? This is another thing where privilege comes into it a lot, because I do know kindergartners who learned a lot in Zoom kindergarten, and every single one of them had a parent next to them, helping them, supporting them the entire time. So unless a child had a full-time adult helping them day after day, 100% focused on them, they're really going to suffer. So I think it also furthered that divide as well. Grade level is out the window these last couple of years. Yeah. I worked with a 5-year-old in NYC. The only reason he's ahead is because his parents could afford to pay me. Yeah. Like your kid's academics, like a lot of it comes down to money. Like my SAT score was terrible. My parents paid a tutor $100 an hour. They spent over $1,500 on SAT tutoring for me, and my score went up almost 1,000 points. Like, if I had not had that tutor, I would not have done well. I was not good at it. So, like, I don't know how anyone can argue that it's not that way. Also, I put some memes in here, not because I think this is funny, but just because, I don't know. That's how I cope, I guess. Okay, Clarksville, Arkansas. I worked at a preschool that was connected to the public school, charged parents a $50 enrollment fee to buy new mats, sheets, and blankets for the kids during nap time, had 14 students enrolled while I was there, never received no amenities. All the sheets had holes in them. You could tell the blankets were just pieces of cloth cut off a roll that somebody bought at a craft store. Like, they were not hemmed, and they still had the white strip down the side. I once had a child lay down to take a nap, and the metal poles that held his bed together fell apart. The county director had a daily checklist on our on-site playground safety to make sure there was no standing water, animal feces, etc. Never once saw the director mark it off. It had 13 things that were supposed to be checked. If the weather was good, we failed on 7 of them. And they were considered the best preschool around. Apparently this happens all the time. My boyfriend avoided $30K in student loan debt because he had an ACT tutor and I didn't. Yeah, I got a tuition waiver for it. Not a whole one. I got to pay in state when I was out of state, but same difference. Like, it's really, money is so much of it. Okay, this is anonymous. Context: I'm a special education teacher at a high school. As a department, we're having multiple issues with various teachers in different departments adhere to IEPs. An IEP is an individualized education plan for a student that might have a disability or something of that nature. So basically, teachers not following what the student is supposed to be receiving. The students' specialized instruction. We come to a head and needed more assistance from our director. They came for a meeting with our department. During said meeting, the blame was placed back on us, and we were not taking charge and asserting the needs of students. I will note that this was not the case and truly had some issues with following the IEPs that we could no longer fight alone and feared parental involvement, which can lead to more serious issues. Again, parents make such a difference. Like, I feel so bad for kids whose parents like are not well versed on these things and like don't have the, like background to like really know what's okay, what's not okay, what they can advocate for, things like that. Where was I? Hence the call for aid. During said meeting, my director of special education told me to grow a set of gonads in front of my entire department and my school, which holds many friends and professionals I admire. This was to have me be more brash and fix the issue in my own classes, which to this point I had done so in a very professional manner. I was literally shocked. I laughed and replied, well, that's not humanly possible since I'm a female. I had to ask my colleagues later to make sure that I did not suffer a stroke and misunderstand what had been said. There have been so many ridiculous things that this individual has said that left so many of us confused and not understanding how they can continue to hold the position they do. I could speak more on other situations, but this one's always my go-to. God, so many people just say things that I'm like, are you, like, what's wrong with you? Like, why do you think that was an okay thing to say? Like, literally, what's wrong with you? Okay, Maryland, this is a student. I told you I love my student submissions. I'm always ride or die with the kids, you know me. Did I miss how to submit for this? I keep typing out stories and I realize I should probably go the anonymous route. Yes. So there's a link for a Google form. It's in my link tree and it's on my Twitch page as well. There's a Google form. You can submit them there and then I put them into this little slide deck. Okay. Student here. I'm currently a senior in high school with aspirations of being a teacher. As someone currently in the school system, it's disparaging to see how burnt out our teachers are. After jumping through hoops to provide us with any semblance, this kid is smarter than I am. You can send any horror stories, admin horror stories, any education-related horror stories I want. Also, this kid is smarter than I am, and they're a better writer than I am, and it's making me self-conscious. After jumping through hoops to provide us with any semblance of education during the pandemic, teachers are fed up, and I don't blame them. My mother is a teacher and in a much better county than my own, and seeing the resources she was provided from higher-ups, additional technology training, updated online resources, additional computer, versus what my teachers were given was night and day. Now that we have returned to the building, teachers are fighting with massive staff shortages and no support and communication from admin. See what I mean? The kids know. The kids know. Kids know what's going on. Kids are not stupid. They see the way administrators carry themselves. They know. Additionally, I overheard one para saying she was getting her pay cut. Pay cut. They're cutting a para's pay. Read the room. A pay cut because she was told to cover classes, but then being paid at a subs rate. So because you have to do something that's not your job, you get less money? That makes sense. That seems like a great way to keep our employees happy. As a student, a para is a paraprofessional. It's kind of like a teaching assistant in a way, like an assistant teacher, kind of depending on the school and the dynamic. That's like, I guess, the easiest definition. This kid is ready to be a teacher. Yeah, literally. As a student, it's hard seeing the conditions teachers are facing. I'm very involved with the arts, and we are down 2.5 positions in my department. I was unable to take some of the upper level classes I wish to take because there was no one to teach them, and these gaps in my transcripts are hard, and the colleges search. Like, this is the stuff that makes me want to bang my head against a wall. Kids deserve everything. Kids deserve every opportunity that they want. Kids deserve any access to education that they want. And because the government is fucking over teachers, now this kid does not get the education that they want and deserve and want to work towards. Like, that is an embarrassment to our country. That's disgusting to me. That's so embarrassing for us just as a society. I digress. I also like to stay involved in various volunteer clubs like NHS. I think that's National Honor Society. I've been told no to several different service activities and school events to raise morale, blood drive, school dance, homecoming parade, etc. Each time the answer is, we don't have the teacher support to run this event. I hardly expect teachers to bend over backwards and volunteer outside of when they get paid. As a student, it's disappointing to lose out on everything that makes school and education fun. It's also hard when it comes to a college search, and I'm struggling to stir up some resume items that are directly reflected within my school. I keep in close contact with admin in our school, but it doesn't get much help. Could you please share how you think we as students can help support our teachers and stir up morale? I'm gonna cry. I love kids. I miss my kids. No, I'm fine. Everything's fine. I'm not crying on the internet anymore. I told myself I'd do that one time. Could you please share how you think we can support teachers and stir up morale? How can we go about having these volunteer events while still allowing our teachers have a healthy work-life balance? I love your honesty about the school system, and it's helping me think about how to navigate my future as a teacher. Thank you. Oh, love this kid. I would say if you're a kid, so this is what I would say is, like, teachers are really burnt out and we are really tired. Well, I'm not a teacher anymore, but we still want y'all to have fun. So if I were you, I would try and, like, you said you're going to the administration being like, hey, I want to do this thing, and they're saying we don't have the teacher support for it. What I would do if I were you is I would find a teacher that you like and you trust and be like, hey, I really want to plan this event and I need a teacher sponsor for it. I'll do all the work. You don't have to do anything. Like, I will do all the work myself. I want to build my college resume. All you need to do is be like at the event and be the teacher in charge, and I'll just update you with everything that's going on. So it's going to have to be a teacher that you already have a good relationship with. So, like, that would be my strategy, is, like, try and get the teacher support, because then you can go to the administrators and be like, hey, we want to do this blood drive, and Miss Smith said that she would already be the teacher support for it. Would be my, like, best suggestion. Someone said, my math teacher calls us absent-minded. Is that okay? I mean, it depends on the context. Like, I say things like that, and, like, I joke around. So I would say if you have, like, a good rapport and they're not saying it in, like, a malicious way, I think it's fine, because sometimes kids be absent-minded. Like, I'm like, where are you? Come back. Where are you? I mean, I don't do that to them. That would be kind of inappropriate. But is it good? No. But it's awful, depending on the context. Okay, this is from Illinois. Do they mind you call them kids when they're in high school? I don't think so. Not that I'm aware of. They usually will make it known if they don't like something. So, yeah. Okay, so Illinois. Sorry. I was in a behavioral classroom. So a behavioral classroom is like a student that has, like, behavior issues that prevent them from being able to engage into a traditional classroom environment, is how I would describe it. Again, I'm not an expert in any of this stuff. I have a sociology degree from Florida State. So, like, I don't really know what the fuck I'm talking about, if we're being honest. I mean, we are kids, so. Okay, I was in a behavioral classroom where I was the only person certified to do holds that require 2 people. Getting assaulted was a daily occurrence for me and the para who my district did not train. I went on vacation, and my husband did not want me wearing a swimsuit out of fear that people would think he was abusive. So many teachers get assaulted at work. Let me tell you one thing. If anyone ever assaulted me at work, that's the day I walk out. Like, that's the day I walk out. I didn't even know FSU had a sociology department. It was small. It was a very small program. So many teachers get assaulted at work. It's horrible. Okay. Charter school in Texas. This person named names, Jubilee Academies. I looked it up. I was going to add their website, but Jubilee Academies, like, they have a lot of schools, and I didn't know which one this was, so I didn't. Part of her job requirements was being able to sustain blows to the head and the back. Oh, yeah, so I didn't know which Jubilee Academy this was, so I didn't want to put the website in case it was, like, the wrong one. But this is Jubilee Academy. So I applied at this charter school. I've never worked at a charter school. I have mixed feelings about them. I think some of them provide a good education to children, but I think overall it's like not good for public education. It's a topic for another day. Anyway, okay, so I applied at this charter school as a Spanish teacher for middle school and high school. I had a phone interview and was told I would be best fit as a bilingual fourth grade teacher. Mind you, I was working on my history high school certification. I took the job because I was desperate. I started in October of 2020, a rough time to start. And on a Monday and by Friday, I was in trouble for not turning in lesson plans and already had students in my class. My co-teacher did me the favor of sharing her lesson plans. So again, like you hired someone midway through the year, probably not a good idea to like reprimand them less than a week into their hiring. Like maybe just be like, hey, I noticed you didn't submit lesson plans. Is that something you've had to do before? Like, do you need any support with that? Because that is something that is like standard here. You know, like there's so many ways to handle that was not reprimanding the person and getting them in trouble, you know? Then my co-teacher was promoted and was assigned as my mentor. She never helped me. And then, yeah, a lot of mentorship programs are so fake. Then one morning she came into my room and said she could no longer be my mentor because she knew the potential the kids had and she couldn't rick around. I think this might have been a typo, but I couldn't figure out what they meant to say. To see them not reach their potential, I was assigned another mentor and she said she would just make up the meetings to turn in because she didn't want to bother me. Yeah. I had that experience as well. A lot of the mentorship programs, they're like, oh, I'll just fill out the paper because like a lot of times you get a mentor where like they didn't sign up and like they don't teach the thing that you teach. So they're like just like not in the capacity to be like a real mentor. You know what I mean? I, as a student, feel like the lesson plans are a hoax. So let me tell you what lesson plans are for. They're not for the teacher. They are for administrators and observers. So the lesson plan is not me making my actual content. It's like the document that says, this is the standard we're learning. This is what my students should be able to do. This is why we're doing it, like that kind of stuff. And it is so, if all the teachers have to turn in lesson plans, then an administrator doesn't have to actually go around and see what all the kids are doing. They can just look in their email and see if the teachers submitted the lesson plan. A lot of them don't even do that though. It's also because most administrators and evaluators and observers do not know the curriculum. They don't know the content. They don't. At least in my experience, they don't. So they need the lesson plan to be able to see like what you're doing because they cannot know what you're doing just by looking at you. You know what I mean? Like if I walked into another US history teacher's classroom that was like using curriculum that I had used before, I would know what they're doing. You know what I mean? Like I would know what the objective is of the lesson because I know the content and I know what students should be able to do. But if you're not well versed in any curriculum, you need it explained to you in order to go in and tell that person that they're bad at their job. We have to have the standard on the board. Yeah, I do have to do that. People walk in and Google the standard. God, I hate it here. Okay. Where was I? I was never trained in the software we used at the school, and I was giving my write-up at a faculty meeting in front of the entire staff on my third week working at the school because I didn't have 2 grades for the week in the grade book. Again, like they didn't train you on how to use the software. How are you supposed to know that you were supposed to be doing that? We didn't have a special ed teacher for months and no one was servicing the students. We didn't have coverage for ARDs. ARD, I'm not familiar with that. This is what came up on Google, admission, review, and dismissal. It seems like it's related to IEPs. I'm not 100% sure. It seems like a meeting about that, essentially. I was told to give up my lunch to go an ARD. The following, sorry, I got tongue twisted. The following school year, this year, I was moved with my kids, even though I specified elementary was not in my certification, and I'm certifying history 7 through 12. Sorry, that was kind of like clunky and written weird. It's like an IEP, but for discipline. Got it. The new admin was very condescending, and she would belittle staff so much. I resigned effective immediately on Labor Day. I was gaslighted so much by admin. One of my work friends said that at a faculty meeting, admin said I was a bad teacher for leaving and that I didn't love my students, and they used me as an example. I heard I am also being used as an example these days. One of the hardest decisions I made was leaving my kids. They were my first class, and I was lucky to move with them. They were great kids, but mentally it was draining. There were times I was having literal panic attacks. I was crying during my conference. It was one of the most toxic places I've ever worked at. Yikes. Okay, anonymous. These are two different submissions, but they're both ADA violations, so that's why I put them on the same slide. So they're from two different people, though. Submission 1, my service dog was denied at the school where I'm working, a clear violation of the ADA. I brought the law to the attention of the county numerous times. They continue to ignore it. It's really disheartening to see a lack of support and accessibility in schools, especially like service animals are so well trained. Like literally every service animal that I've interacted with is so well trained. Like I don't see why that would be an issue. You know what I mean? Like God, I hate people. Okay, so submission 2, I just left a school for its wildly unethical practices. I was diagnosed with an incurable, life-changing disability during the school year. My accommodations were very reasonable. My classroom is mandated 12-1-1. I think that's like the ratio, like the teacher to student ratio, I think, by students' IEPs, and I asked that they maintain that. They did not. So again, like it's already in the students' IEPs, so why is it a problem to begin with? And like B, now we have this additional matter on top of it. Like it's insane. So ever since I shared my diagnosis, they have been relentlessly manufacturing things and retaliating. It has gotten so bad that I simply have to quit, and I'm going to have to pay my full premium through Cobra and receive my treatment from disability. Yes, this was a school for students with disabilities. That's what's crazy to me is like, it's a school for people with disabilities. Y'all should know what's going on with that. Sorry, my roommate texted me. Okay. So this is from Louisville, Kentucky. This one, I hated this one. Not because, like, I hated it. Like, I hate that you're going through this. Not that I hated it was submitted. The school is unsanitary. The majority of the school walls are filled with asbestos and black mold, and apparently it won't be fixed until summer break. We have ran out of our COVID cleaning solution, and we're not allowed to buy cleaning products that aren't district approved. That's what's crazy to me is, like, people are willing to spend their own money to clean the school. Like, your teachers are willing to do that, and you're still being a dick and, like, not letting it happen. Like, literally, what's wrong with you? The only approved cleaner isn't sold in stores, so we have been using water and paper towels. I work in early childhood, so the cleaning solution is kind of mandatory since younger kids can be more messy. Not sure what janitors are using to clean. That's crazy to me. I worked in early childhood, and I sprayed my classroom down with bleach water literally like 4 or 5 times a day because kids are so nasty. Like, because they would spill things. They spill things everywhere, they throw up on the ground, they snot everywhere, when they sneeze, they cough, like, and just, like, cough out, like, that's nasty that they don't have cleaning solution there, and, like, the people are willing to buy it. God, I hate the government. This is Haley from Wichita, so, like I said, some people chose not to be anonymous, which is cool for you. Rock on. Sorry, someone that lives in this apartment needs to bring a paper somewhere. Okay, so Haley from Wichita. I'll start by saying that I'm no longer a teacher. I taught for 4 years and happened to turn in my notice literally 2 weeks before school shut down in the beginning of COVID. One of the best decisions I've made, honestly, especially because of the repeated incidents like this. I taught 5th grade for my first 3 years, and students at my school loved soccer. A large group of kids played every day of recess, and every once in a while a kid would get upset about something that happened on the field and bring it back into the building. Very normal for 5th grade, you know, it happens. During a bathroom break one day, one of my students was mad about a game at recess and slapped another student in the face and said something to intimidate the kid. I can't remember what it was now. When I was told about it, I made a discipline referral in our computer system like I was supposed to. I would like to clarify that I almost never made discipline referrals because I have a lot of issues with the way that public schools handle consequences, but when one student uses violence against another, I don't really have a choice. That's also my stance on discipline referrals. My principal came and picked up the students from my room to figure out what happened. I didn't see her or them for the rest of the day. The next morning, after the kids were arriving, my principal came down to my room to tell me that she had talked to both of the students and decided to delete the referral because it had turned out to not be a big deal. I was confused but didn't say anything in the moment because I hadn't talked to either student since the day before. Then she stayed at my door and grabbed the student. For clarity, I'll just call them Bob, before they could enter the room, to tell him that it wasn't a big deal he'd been slapped in the face because that's just how boys play. Why am I illiterate? And the other student had brothers, and that's what brothers do to each other. Okay, toxic masculinity. Bob didn't have brothers, but she said that he was a boy, so he understood, right? And that he felt safe being around the other student, right? She literally pressured him into saying he was okay with the whole thing. And I know this because he came up to me later and told me that he did not feel safe being around the other student. He told me he was scared that he was going to be hurt again. I've seen so many things like this where like a lot of administrators and principals, all they care about is like their paper trail, and all they all they care about is their paper trail, and all they care about is like what the district sees. So sounds like someone called Bob's parents and they made excuses. Yeah, this is literally insane. This happened. My school doesn't have water fountains, so a teacher brought water in little cups for $30 every week. God, I used to buy, so my school took, like, they had water fountains, but they turned them into like bottle fillers because of COVID. And so I used to buy the little like Dixie cups for the kids because they would come back from PE. They were like coming back from PE, and I was like, reasons why I keep a separate copy of contact logs I post in the school system with the dates. Yes. So I used a Google form when I was a teacher. So I made a Google form that was just like student name, parent name, method of contact, date contact, and then like a spot where I could type something in if we talked about something like important. And there were a lot of times that came in very handy. So I would recommend everybody do that, because then you can just fill out the Google form every time and it's like 2 seconds. So Haley from Wichita, Kansas, part 3. During that day, I emailed the principal to tell her I was confused as to why the discipline referral was deleted, because we're never supposed to do that, and also to let her know that Bob told me he actually didn't feel safe around the other student. Period for advocating for your students. Love that for you, Haley. Rather than explaining herself in an email response, again, paper trail, she sent someone to cover my classroom so I could come down and talk to her about it in person. She proceeded to give me the same spiel she gave Bob about that's how boys play, and she said that it wasn't a documentation level offense. I didn't realize until I told my teacher friend later. She brought me down to the office so there wouldn't be a paper trail. Look at me go. Luckily, that friend was also my union rep and helped me document to the report exactly what happened to the union. Some unions are really good. Some unions are awesome. Like there's a TikTok creator, I don't know how to say her username. It's like SABO Cat. She talks a lot about teacher union stuff. There's a lot of great unions out there. The worst part, my principal had actually won an award. This is the real kicker. My principal had won an award for reducing the school's discipline referrals a couple years prior. Turns out this is how she was doing it. I don't know firsthand, but I've heard from teachers that had left the school that she would misuse funds constantly, buying decorations, candy, decor, etc. And if you got on her bad side, she'd make a mission to find out how to fire you. Instead of getting fired, she was transferred to another school in the district. Is the one, Sabocat's union is the one who is union is striking right now. I haven't seen her strike updates in a couple days, but yes, I think so. If you have a union, always take your union into rep meetings. Yeah, I wish I had like understood that more, or like gone and done it every time. You know, when I have a problem with one of my classes, my teacher always tells me to email them first so that there's a paper trail. Yep. Okay, so for some reason on my stream preview, the chat is not updating, but it is in the chat window. Can someone tell me, are you guys seeing the updated chat? If not, I can try and like delete it and then bring it back, and maybe that'll like reset it. Okay, kind of off topic, but reminding me on the podcast, Normal Gossip, I think you would like it. You're the second person today to tell me I would like Normal Gossip. One of my childhood friends posted it on her story. Well, I guess that wasn't her telling me, it was just me seeing it. But yeah. Instead of getting fired, she was transferred to another school in the district. So this principal, it's not updating. No, it froze a while ago. You should be able to refresh it. Yeah, here, let me do that right now. Goodbye. Welcome back. Let me move you over here. Sorry, I'm like reformatting this. I hope this works now. Oh, it's gone. Perfect. I love my life. Live, laugh, love. The chat box is updating, but not the screenshot. Yeah, let me mess around with this for another second. Oh wait, there it goes. Now I see it. I think I did it. Okay, there. I think it's working now. Okay. My math teacher would win an award from a hockey team. Yeah. Oh, it looks different. Interesting. Cool. Yay, she's back. Our school could win, what is that number? $10,000 if we vote for her, but I hate her and I hate my school. I love kids. Okay. Richmond, Virginia. My mom is from Virginia. So my goal was to, God, my eyes hurt from staring at a computer all day. My goal was to become a teacher via the career switching path, which still involved training and testing. That's what I did. But I was basically hired on, no experience, only with a good praxis score. Retweet to only getting hired because you had a good test passing situation. So I'm teaching virtually at the secondary level, so luckily there's not much classroom management to deal with. But honestly, my biggest thing is that I literally got no training, nothing. I had to Google what an IEP and 504 meant. Me too. I also got no training on that stuff. These are important things with legal implications, and if not met, I felt super unprepared. It was supposed to have a mentor and never got one. I've literally just been winging it all year. Which is crazy. I think it's common because of COVID, but it wasn't before. I'm going to disagree with you with that because I started teaching before COVID, and that was very much my experience. Very, very much so. Which slide am I on? 22. Cool. We're like halfway done. All right. So Metro Atlanta. So I'm a resource U.S. history teacher, and on multiple occasions, I've had case managers come up and ask me to change students' test grades so they can pass to the next year and not have the student retake my class. I refuse every time, and in one specific case, one specific case manager pulled me from my class when I had students for well over 30 minutes to try and bully me into changing these test grades. She then suggested I create more classroom assignments to pad the students' grades for at the end of the school year when their test came along that was worth 20% of their final grades. That's something I got pressured into a lot, was to like, if the students were not taking the test or failing the test, I was supposed to like give them projects to make up the test, but like, no. You know what I mean? Because like a lot of times it would be that the kid just didn't show up to take the test at any point in time. Like I tried to schedule makeups with them, but they would just skip school. And then like at the end of the quarter, they'd be like, oh, let them do a project to make it up, because like it wouldn't let me give them the test late because they were like, it was like on a testing website platform. So like I couldn't let them make it up too late. And they would like try and get me to do it. We aren't allowed to give a grade below a 50. My grading was out of 4. So I like can't really, I like relate or identify with that, but yeah. All right, let me focus. When I held my ground, she proceeded to grab another teacher whose duty was to try and further convince me that I should cook my books. Fed up with this, I go to the principal, who asked me to send him an email with everything that had been going on. In the same meeting, I tell him I don't trust my AP because he promises to help but never does, and then gossips about your struggles behind your back. The principal then forwards the email to the AP, who the next day shows up to my planning period and tells me to explain myself. This takes a full hour. Nothing changes. No behaviors get corrected. I hate it here. This really rang true to me. Like, a lot of times I would like go to someone and be like, hey, this situation happened between me and an administrator or me and a staff member or whatever. And then they would just go tell the other staff member about it. Be like, oh yeah, she came and told me that you did that. Like, if there's tension, don't do that. Boston University. I'm a student at Boston University. My freshman year, I got diagnosed with ADHD by a psychiatrist at the BU Behavioral Medical Center because testing is expensive. That's another story. And was prescribed medication. After my diagnosis, I sought out academic accommodations. The Disability Services Advisor took a long look at the report from the psychiatrist and determined that I didn't have enough ADHD for the extended time, but was comfortable that BU had prescribed me Adderall. Are these going to be anywhere to watch after they're live? Yes, they will be on my Twitch page, and I will put it on YouTube tomorrow as well, but that takes a long time, so I won't be able to do that tonight. Sorry, but tomorrow. Okay, so then they told me that I needed a second opinion from another psychiatrist, but per my comment above, that's hella expensive. Thankfully, I've had many mental health professionals from home tell me that they thought I had, your sound quality sounds so much better, thank you, that were happy to confirm what the BU psychiatrist had reported. I couldn't imagine what would have happened if someone didn't have these resources and needed accommodations. I have more horror stories about BU disability and access services, but there's also a great expose from the BU Free Press, a student-run newspaper. Oh man, someone's watching from Ecuador. Hey, bestie. All right. I don't know how to pronounce this. This is a school in Hawaii, but the person that submitted it, their @name is Miss Jillian Morrison on TikTok and Instagram. If you submit these and you would like a shout out, I'm happy to do that. Just, I don't know, to like thank you for submitting, I guess. I don't know. Okay. So last year I was a long-term And this school, if I didn't already say, is in Hawaii. Yeah. So last year I was a long-term substitute for 7th grade math. At the end of the year, I submitted grades. There were a couple students with F's for the quarter, but all passed this year. My class was ridiculously hard to fail. It only happened if a kid basically didn't come to school and did zero makeup work. Fast forward to this school year, and I'm back substitute teaching at the same middle school, but no longer in a long-term role. I start getting messages on Instagram harassing me and threatening me. The content of these messages and threats were appalling and frightening. I was threatened to have my nose broken, to be shot, beat up, jumped, and also was very explicitly sexually harassed in these messages. Where was I? With graphic descriptions of what the harassers wanted to do to me and me to them. I knew it was 2 students at the school, and I knew the 2 students harassing me were friends of a student who got an F while I was a long-term sub because it was referenced in one message. When I did some digging on the fake account, I found photos of the students on their private Instagram. I did not, however, know the names of the 2 students who were harassing me and making these threats. A few photos showed about half their face, but I was never able to identify the name, and they weren't any of my prior students. Part 2 of this. Also, is the chat frozen again? I don't think so. No, I think it's fine. All right. I reported everything that happened and what I found out to the school administration. They told me if I felt unsafe, I could file a police report. This is one thing I've seen so many times where a teacher will be like, hey, this situation's going on. I feel unsafe. I feel like targeted. I don't feel comfortable with this, whatever. And then administrators would be like, well, you can file a police report if you want to. And like, a lot of times, like, you don't want to file a police report. Like, for a variety of reasons, a lot of people don't want to do that. So it's like, you can't say that you're supporting your employees and then be like, oh, well, you can file a police report. Like, that's not support. That's just like further isolating. And then it's like, then you're kind of going crazy. You're like, wait, does this deserve a police report? It doesn't feel like it does. And like, then you have to make that decision by yourself with no counsel about what to do. That's really sad. Can you make a Google form for us to recommend future stream topics? So I have a few that I want to do, but after I get through a couple, yeah, I am gonna like take submissions. Okay, where was I? They said they couldn't look into it because it didn't happen on school property. Meanwhile, I was still working at the school, probably coming across the students without ever realizing it. The school had less than 300 students. Oh, you used to follow her on TikTok? You had no idea about this? The school had less than 300 students. I knew the names of some of the connections the harassers had to their friends and such, not them. A little asking around and the administration could have figured out who it was, combined with the pictures I provided, but they did nothing. I reported it to the police, who are known in my area, the Honolulu Police Department, to be useless. Sorry, I had to burp. Despite following up numerous times and trying to make progress, I never got a call back. After many emails and voicemails trying to follow up, I still work at the school. The students who sent me these messages and threatened me probably still go there, 8th graders, and I've never been able to identify them. It creeps me out knowing that whoever did this went undisciplined and is still anonymous. I stepped in for the school when they desperately needed a long-term sub and was constantly told how great of a job I was doing, and if I ever needed any help or support, I need only ask, but this is how they treated me when I asked for help. So procedural, where's the humanity? Exactly. It's like, are you people? Like, at the end of the day, this is a person. This one's from New Zealand. I'm literally Pitbull. Like, I'm literally Mr. Worldwide. You guys don't even know. But yeah, apparently New Zealand is a mess in education too. And then my friend, he is friends with a teacher in London, and apparently it's a mess there as well. So it's just like a messy mess. All right. So our admin was telling us we cannot get a day off unless we're dying several times, or that only if we need to call off they can confirm via voice that we're dying. I was told I couldn't get half a day off to go to the doctor because they already had 3 teachers off. First year teacher having a full load in a private school teaching English lit as a non-native with no help would cry every day due to anxiety. I think they're like that was about another teacher at their school. I think they're just like listing things that were crazy at their school. Keeping kids in school who are bullies and racist, several hardcore accidents, again, in a private school. Do they mean incidents? I don't know. How can it be bad everywhere? I heard Germany and Denmark are doing very well in education. So, keeping at school a teacher who had publicly said extreme racist, sexist, and homophobic comments in class. During class. I think it's one thing to say it outside of class. That's obviously still terrible, and you should not be allowed to do that. But in class, oh my God, in class. He also supported conspiracy theories and anti-science opinions in his class. English lit, music, and psychology. This man was famous for his anger issues and how fast he would explode, either with kids or colleagues. Probably have more, but can't remember. This is fucking crazy. Mr. Luke on TikTok Australia is having a delightful time being a teacher, so wherever he is, I guess it's good. So that's what I think. It's like, so much of it is your school. So much of it is your school. Like, there's a school, like, a few miles away from my school. That's a great school. Teachers love it. I know a decent amount about it. Like, it's so much about your school. So much. Okay, Louisiana. Isn't that where Britney Spears is from? I love her. I'm a high school teacher now, but started out teaching 5th grade. I left that position after 2 months because I had a new student who refused to listen to me. I was trying to teach. I told him to stop talking while I was talking. He then said that he would stab me and another student. Oh. Admin took him out of my room, let him sleep for 2 hours, and then made me allow him back into my classroom. I resigned from that school district 2 weeks later because I felt unsafe and unsupported. And someone said my first teaching job was toxic, but so far my new one is way better. I loved teaching until I got a new principal. Now I want to die. Yeah, I've worked with 2 principals, and they were 2 very different experiences. This one really stood out to me because I've heard of so many teachers who will have incidents like this, and then the administrators just take the kids for like a break. Like, there's no discipline happening. This might surprise a lot of people, but comparatively to a lot of other Gen Z teachers and TikTok teachers, I'm pretty, like, old school when it comes to discipline. And a lot of schools have no discipline. Like, obviously, I'm against hitting kids and shit like that. I think good discipline is, like, comprehensive and effective, and you have to, like, remedy the harm that you caused and all that stuff. But a 2-hour nap is not discipline. Okay, anonymous. My school is actively feeding the school to prison pipeline. I was brought in to do restorative practices. That's like a new form of discipline, but it's like not discipline. It's like basically like making up for the bad things you did, like apologizing and making the situation correct. I've never really seen it being used like firsthand. I've read about it, and I know that it can be very, very effective, but I know to do it very effectively, you have to have a lot of training and time and support and like people that are trained. Like, it's not something that you can just do super easily. Like, it's a thing you have to learn how to do. Okay. So, but I'm shot down anytime I tell them that students and staff are willing to do that. They should have a different consequence. No consequences are not allowed other than ISS, which is in-school suspension, OSS, out-of-school suspension, or alternative school. Yeah, someone said I love restorative practices, but it's difficult to get rolling. Yeah. They want the kids to do both the hard work that restorative processes take while still being kicked out of school. Because the whole point of restorative processes is like basically remedying the harm that you caused your community. So like if you're being kicked out of school, you can't really remedy the harm in the community because you're not in the community because you got kicked out. So then when you come back, you're like, you kicked me out. So what do you mean remedy the harm? Because you already punished me once, you know? One of our old SROs, that's a school resource officer. It's like the school cop, got fired because he physically punished a student. Our current SRO refuses to go to rooms when a staff member calls saying they're scared for their life, saying that calling him is the equivalent of calling 911. You have literally one job. Like, your literal job is to go to classrooms and like deal with things that are dangerous. And like, if you're not willing to do that, then what are you doing here? I'm not allowed to bring up race when it relates, even as it relates to the data of school suspension, and it's a very clear issue. Oof. That is a tough spot you're in. Most of these, like, I just kind of like skimmed them and put them in, so I haven't like read all the details of these. Oh, that's rough. That they won't even talk about the racial difference in suspensions. God, what's wrong with these people? I had a student that wanted to punch the principal, and I told them they could punch me instead, and I wouldn't say anything because I didn't want them to be I didn't want them to be expelled from the school. Well, I wouldn't tell a kid that they could punch me instead. That's not personally how I would handle that, but more power to you for trying to protect your students. When I send a kid to the office, they come back with a sucker and say they took a break. It really grinds my gears. Yeah, literally. Can you talk about what ISS was at your school? I'm at a middle school, and they just say do this worksheet all day. In high school, it was hanging out with a security guard in a closet all day. My school, I've seen ISS done differently depending on our current staffing. Sometimes, a lot of times they'll do it like in the cafeteria because that's where they have to go to get like a late pass. So it's like one person. I'm sorry, that was super loud. One person is in charge of both of those things. So a lot of times what ISS is the kid has to go around to all their teachers for the day and ask for an assignment. Sometimes teachers have it ready, sometimes they don't. Basically, they're supposed to go get all their work for the day, and then they go back in there and they take their phone away, and then they have to sit in there doing their work. So that's what ISS is supposed to be. Sometimes it's not that. If they don't have staff, then sometimes, like one time an administrator had like 3 kids in ISS and the guy who usually oversees it wasn't there. So that administrator literally just like made the kids follow him around all day, and he like made them help with stuff and like made them help him. He like was like pulling weeds and like cleaning the sidewalk, and he like made them help with that, which I don't know if that's legal. I don't think he made them help with it, but you know what I mean. Like it varies day to day what we were doing for ISS. ISS in my school was staring at the wall. We weren't even allowed to do work. I hate the American education system. Okay, Canada, a small independent school board. Don't really know what that means. This person's handle is right there. Jean, I don't know. The director and assistant director of my school board were fired and investigated for stealing money and then rehired 1.5 years later into their old positions. Love that for us. Okay, Emily from New York, part 1. Hello, I'm a first-year teacher at a visual arts public school in Manhattan. I'm also not educated as a teacher. I'm an architect and now teaching architecture classes at this specialized public school. New York City, this is a good one. I do remember reading this one. New York City is often lauded as having the best teachers union in the country, but what I've learned about other schools from TikTok, that's probably true. However, after coming from a corporate industry, I'm truly shocked at the payroll system and lack of HR and onboarding. That's one thing in my new job. My onboarding has been so good. Like, it's been so comprehensive. They've really supported me. Like, I was like, oh, this is not what it was like before. NYC has a pay scale based on education and years of experience. As a teacher with a 4-year degree and no experience, you start at $61,000. I realize this seems high to a lot of people throughout the United States. Keep in mind the cost of living in NYC. NYC, you cannot, especially in Manhattan, you cannot live on $61,000 even as a single person. I just don't really think that's realistic to have like fully, like be living a healthy financial life. You know what I mean? Where was I? If you have a master's degree, it's supposed to be bumped up to 68. However, they hire all teachers at 61 and make them fill out a salary application to apply for what they're actually supposed to be making, and it takes 6 months to be reviewed. Why can they not just verify your education before they hire you and pay you what they are supposed to pay you immediately? This is a lot of things I've noticed in the public school system is shit like this. Shit that's like HR stuff, paperwork stuff that's just so unprofessional and so like if any company did this, it would not be okay. Like people would refuse to work there. Like it would be dramatic, like all of that. Yeah, I've noticed that a lot. This is what every corporate job in America does. But anyway, the principals and assistant principals are not involved with this issue at all. You have to deal directly with the Department of Education. And in NYC, there's so many teachers. I feel this is especially frustrating because no one from the Department of Education actually knows who you are. So you are constantly getting bounced from person to person and having to explain your situation and circumstances. They do not care because you're not their teacher at their school, so they aren't worried that you are unhappy. This is one thing that I think a lot of people don't realize that's hard about teaching is stuff like that, like having to make these phone calls to these government entities just to be able to like get paid and do your job, and it just feels so demeaning and disrespectful. Okay, so in my case, I was already taking a pay cut to transition into teaching, but I was okay with going down to 68 because I thought I would be more fulfilled in teaching. But little did I know that things are going even slower with COVID, so I'm still not being paid the correct pay based on my education, and the union fought so hard to standardize. School ends in 4 months, and they still aren't paying me adequately. It's insane to me that this is just the expectation. Yeah, that's what's crazy to me. I'm expected to just figure out my finances to work at below what I was promised, and like $7,000 is a lot of money per month. I'm not going to do math, but that's like a difference, you know? My coworkers are very desensitized to it. That's the other thing is I noticed a lot of veteran teachers, they would be like, oh, well, that's just how it is. And I was like, that's not normal. This is not normal. Because they've been here too long, and once the pay does get straightened out, they forget about what a hassle it was. But it's also an optics issue. I see this as blatant disrespect for me. I completely agree. I think teachers are disrespected in this way all the time. The bare minimum a job can do is pay you what they promise. Why would I want to continue working for an employer who withholds my salary and makes me jump through hoops to get it? I have many more complaints about this system, but I think this is my biggest issue with the Department of Education. Hard retweet. Sorry, I'm checking TikTok. Okay. So I work at a school for specialized students with severe emotional disabilities. When I started 3 years ago, we had 7 social workers. All students receive at least 1 hour per week of individual counseling as per the individualized education plan. Oh, I'm getting new lashes on Saturday. I'm so excited. That's not what it says. That was me getting distracted. Sorry. This year we have lost 6. Wait, what the fuck? 6 out of 7? 6 social workers, with the last one retiring in June. Holy shit. That sucks. God. Their solution was to bring in interns. Always. Why pay people more when you could pay less qualified people less to do nothing? I'm sure the interns try their best, but you get what I'm saying. Their solution was to bring in interns and social workers from other areas in the agency. However, these social workers will not be in person to provide counseling services. Jesus Christ. Social work interns don't get paid. Of course they don't. Of course they don't. Of course they don't. Of course they don't get paid. God, I hate it here. However, these social workers will not be in person to provide counseling. I don't think kids can do Zoom counseling. I'm going to be honest. Like, I'm not a kid and I can't do Zoom counseling. They won't be able to guarantee the hour per week. Again, an IEP is a legal document. The school system has a legal obligation to uphold that. And they're just not doing it. Like, what's happening because of this? Why aren't these schools getting in trouble? This is what I mean when I say, like, I want leaders to be held accountable. Why is this happening? If that's the law, why is this happening? Audit it. Get people in trouble. Figure it out. I don't care. Like, I care that it gets figured out. I don't care how you have to figure it out. Just figure it out, you know? The school is setting up meetings to modify IEPs due to staff shortages, which is not only not legal, it's not in the best interest of students. They're getting away with this by taking advantage of parents' lack of understanding. They also keep admitting new students. So that's one thing I saw a lot, is that administrators will, like, fuck over kids who they know the parents can't advocate for them. So, like, some of my students whose parents didn't speak English, sometimes administrators will be like, oh, it's fine, their parents not going to complain, they don't speak English. And I was like, oh my God, that's so unethical. It's literally so unethical. That's why this show is called Wow, That's Unethical. Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. I was fired by the new principal of only 2 weeks after having a seizure in one morning before class, even though school was aware of my epilepsy before hiring me. ADA violation, probably. I'm not a lawyer, actually. My grade level has the highest number of special ed kids in our department, and they're talking about decreasing the amount of special ed positions for the next year. Like, how is that allowed? All right, Anonymous from New York City. This story is about the hypocrisy of COVID protocols that are in place. This one's kind of dense, so bear with me, because it's kind of a long story, but it's good. So in NYC, teachers were given until October to get vaccinated in order to keep teaching. If they had a medical exemption, they would be moved to an administrative position, so they would still have a job, but they wouldn't be in schools, putting the kids at risk. Kids are not mandated to be vaccinated at this time. The architecture department at my school where I teach only has 3 teachers, counting myself. We teach 9th through 12th graders collectively. There are 2 studio teachers, myself and another teacher who I'm about to rant about, and 1 software teacher. I took the position of a teacher, I lost my place, who retired over the summer, but because of the slow hiring system, I wasn't allowed to start until 4 weeks into the school year. During this time, the other studio teacher was removed from the building because of her vaccination status, so I guess she wasn't vaccinated. This other teacher was allowed to start teaching remotely from home. Working with this teacher is incredibly difficult. She's the type to work every evening and try and schedule meetings outside of contract hours, and then spend the entire meeting lecturing you, not working with you. I could write a book about all the ways she makes my life miserable, but I digress. In the beginning, it was assumed this was a temporary transition situation and that she would not be allowed to remain teaching remotely. Exactly, because it said if you aren't vaccinated, you get an admin position. You're not teaching. So, after all, the NYC Department of Education fired thousands of unvaccinated teachers. Why is she the exception? Now it's assumed that she must have a medical exemption or she would have been fired, but getting a medical exemption meant you were supposed to be transferred to an administrative position, not allowed to teach remotely. But again, she is somehow the exception. So she has been allowed to continue teaching from home while her students have come to school to just log on to Zoom and have a teacher. Many of her class have transferred out of the school because they came to a specialized program to be taught in person by design professionals, not by some lady over Zoom. I find this especially frustrating because she's an incredibly bad colleague, but also I recognize if I was in her student shoes, I would be pissed that the school couldn't provide an in-person teacher when all the students are expected to be in person. Really valid. Complaint of children. I completely agree. To me, it seems like the COVID protocols aren't actually real. They fired teachers they wanted to fire and are making exceptions for teachers they want to keep. If I was one of the thousands they'd fire, I'd be pretty pissed to hear that other unvaccinated teachers were allowed to remain. This is like a little bit giving anti-vaxxer vibes. I don't think this person's an anti-vaxxer, but that last sentence kind of did a little bit. So I do just want to say that I am a triple vaxxed queen. I think everyone should get their vaccine. Oh my God, that rhymed. Okay, so this is from Massachusetts. Why is Massachusetts spelled like that? Why is it spelled like that? Like literally, why is it spelled like that? Massachusetts. Okay, so I work as a paraprofessional. Sorry, I heard someone screaming, but it's my neighbors. I think they're coming home from a party. Good for them. Okay, I work as a paraprofessional, kind of like a teaching assistant, in an autism program in a public school in Massachusetts. I have seen multiple parents have to fight tooth and nail to get their children outplaced to schools with better staff and support when they weren't able to meet their needs. We're constantly taking one-on-ones off IEPs, tripling up nonverbal students with high needs on new support staff without training. Because I can tell you right now, like if you gave me high special needs kids that were nonverbal, I would not know what to do. Like I'm not trained for that. I'm not qualified for that. Like that's something that you need actual training on. You cannot just throw anybody in there. Like kids that have certain needs need people that are trained to accommodate those needs. Like that's very basic. And having people like bus drivers filling in for our teachers without any oversight because they got rid of our program director at the beginning of the pandemic for budget reasons. We are consistently keeping students in our program with intense behavioral needs that we cannot meet because of understaffing and undertraining, but the SPED director won't outplace unless parents hire a lawyer because she doesn't want to pay for it. It's an unethical, classist, ableist, and generally disgusting. Oh, and I get paid $25K a year? In Massachusetts? Ooh. And we had to fight for 6 months harassing our school committee for that raise. Otherwise, I'd still be at $20K. That's not okay. This one's from Missouri. Trigger warning, men. I had just moved from the role of a classroom teacher to a tech coach at a new district when I heard about the Good Boys Club, which was the administration that were all men and male teachers who were their buddies. I had worked at the district for maybe a month when I had a training session with admin and a couple other Good Boys Club members and an outside trainer from a company. My principal asked if anyone wanted anything to drink, and I asked what was available. Someone said there was tea, and my principal proceeded to look at me and say, "I have a tea bag for you." Why would you say that when you could literally just not fucking say that? Like it would have costed $0 to not say that. If you don't know what like teabag is referencing, look it up on Urban Dictionary. All the men except the outside trainer laughed, including the district superintendent. That's why I put that meme in there. I sat there as a new hire, untenured, shocked yet quiet because I needed the job. Exactly. This is why I'm doing this, because shit like this is fucking crazy and people don't talk about it. To this day, I regret not standing up for myself, and since the admin crap keeps being okay and his contract has been renewed again. Meanwhile, I have 3 interviews for this week for jobs outside of teaching because I just can't take his antics anymore. You're not going to jail. You're going to prison. But you're probably not going to go to prison. Probably nothing's going to happen to you. You actually got your contract renewed, so of course. We have like 12 more left, just so you know. I need to make dinner. Okay, so this is something I accidentally did to another teacher. Ooh, this one cut deep to me. This is something I accidentally did to another teacher under wrongful direction of administration when starting a new job. I still feel bad about it 6 months later. I'm a music teacher in a very affluent district in the Northeast. Shit. Sorry, that was loud. Sorry, someone keeps texting me. I have no attention span. Okay. Sorry. I'm very spacey today. I've had a long day. When I was hired as a part-time music teacher, there was another music teacher that used my classroom one day a week when I'm not there. This is very common. She taught the rest of her days at a different school in the district. This is common with music teachers and like art teachers. If like you don't need, like a school doesn't have like a full-time position for you, the district will like, you just move around, you know. Sorry, I just whistled. Sorry, I need to put my messages on Do Not Disturb. Shot the rest of her days at a different school in the district. Admin did not give her the name or any way to contact her. Upon arriving, they wanted me, a younger teacher, to go through decades worth of supplies, furniture, and instruments and throw away anything that's outdated. So literally, like, your administrator's job should have been to put you in contact with that person ASAP. ASAP set up a meeting with all of you to talk about the expectations of sharing the room and make sure everybody's on the same page and there's a system and everyone's stuff is where it needs to be. Like, that's, if I was an administrator, first thing I would do. They basically gave me no direction or advice and basically said it was all mine to use, and they wanted me to get rid of as much as possible because I didn't even know the other teacher's name or that she used the room as a permanent home for some of the things. I accidentally threw away a ton of her supplies, lesson plans, seating charts, student records, etc. I even took over her desk and claimed it as mine, thinking it was just stuff from the old teacher. Exactly, like the administrators could have made this not happen. I probably should have asked for her information up front. Not your job. They should have just given it to you. But as a second-year teacher that I've been absolutely blessed to get this job in a good paying, highly competitive district, I just accepted that admin had communicated with or figured she kept her things at the other school. I have since reconciled everything with that teacher, and she is one of my best resources and mentors. I'm really glad that that worked out between you guys. Oh my God, this is you. Hi. Hi. Where was I? I have learned now that I've been here for a while that admin at my school does not get along with her, and they spitefully told me to throw everything away and purposely did not have her help me. I felt so bad and had to mend a relationship with an important colleague before I even met her because of my admin's actions. This is the stuff that's crazy to me because admins are supposed to bring people together and are supposed to like prevent any stuff like this. Like, that's literally their job. So like they should have handled this, and then they put you in an awkward position and they put this other teacher in an awkward position. Like, this is just so like bad all around for everybody involved. I made a meme about it though. So new teacher coming in and trying their best. Admin using their classroom to be petty towards another staff member. Let me know if the chat isn't updating because it's not updating on my page thing. Again, live, laugh, love. This is anonymous from Atlanta. Hello, I'm currently a teacher in Oregon, but my story is from an experience working as a middle school teacher in Atlanta. I started in the 21-22 school year working at this middle school that was severely understaffed. I want to know what school this is so bad because I'm from Atlanta. At the start of the school year, there were 4 open positions throughout the campus. After the first 2 weeks of school, there were 8 open positions because 4 teachers made the decision to leave the profession due to our campus culture and the unethical practices of our administration. Because our campus was understaffed and subs were starting not to take jobs at our campus, the remaining teachers had to pick up the slack. I would teach my math class 32 students plus half a social studies class, 15 more students. Also, I'm not certified to teach social studies, all in the same classroom at the same time. Having that many people in my classroom brewed chaos with students sitting on spare chairs we pulled from other rooms and even sitting on the floor. This is what I mean that, like, it's crazy the things that happen in school. Also, yeah, I see the chat's frozen. I'm going to fix it in a second. Now I know the whole country is dealing with schools being understaffed, and this is a common story you may be reading, so let me give you specific unethical stories from my time at this school. I think this one's 3 parts. So 1, due to COVID, students, I also have seen a lot of schools doing things due to COVID that don't really make any sense. Students ate lunch in the teachers' classrooms. This meant I had to supervise. Sorry. Hold on. I want to see something. Weird. It says my webcam is on, but I'm not using that to record this, so I just did the little slidey guy over it. I hope no one's staring at me. I mean, I'm already on here, so whatever. But anyway, Let me focus. Due to COVID, students ate lunch in teachers' classrooms. This meant I had to supervise 45 students in my classroom, mask off. I never sat down. I was never able to eat lunch. I lost 15 pounds in a month due to stress and not being able to eat every day. So many teachers are facing so many things that are so fucking unethical. We were understaffed, yet administrators refused to sub. Of course they did. In the classrooms that needed teachers. We had a head principal, assistant principals for each grade level, and a dean of students for each grade level. That's 7 adults who could have helped support their staff by filling those empty roles. The special education teachers were told to teach their classes with the general education classes. My grade level assistant principal would screen my calls. She would never answer my calls, even during emergencies, like when there was a huge fight in my classroom and the emergency button wasn't working. I finally got a hold of someone and they said they would send a resource officer, but no one ever came. This is like really ringing true to the experience that I know so many of my colleagues that teach middle school have had. I have never experienced anything like this, but I know it's very common. So there's a large fight on our campus and we went into lockdown for the rest of the day. A teacher had been punched and left with a black eye while trying to intervene. He was still expected to continue teaching that day. That is insane. Here, I'll let you guys enjoy this meme while I fix the chat again. A single mom who works 2 jobs. Haha. Delete the layer. And we're going to add it again. My nose is stuffy. All right. Hopefully she is back and better than ever. What does it say on the left side? I can't read it on my phone. Yeah, it's kind of tiny. Sorry. So on the left side, it says covering a class due to staff shortages. And then on the right side, it says forcing a teacher to teach 2 classes simultaneously to 47 children. And then admin going to the forcing the teacher one. Okay, so this is from Atlanta again. This is their part 3 to that. I put the meme where it made the most sense. So finally, this was one of my hardest jobs. I was not supported. I was in a chaotic environment, trying my best to do my job and support and teach the students. I was pouring out of my cup and no one was filling me back up. My mental health was declining for the first time in my entire life. I was struggling with really scary, intrusive thoughts. I was getting to that point too as well. I completely understand what you mean. I definitely had some times that I was like, wow, that's not normal that I'm thinking that way. I was constantly reaching out for help with my administration ignoring me. Thankfully, my husband got a job across the country and we were able to move. After only 6 weeks of working at that school, I was able to resign. Because we moved, I didn't have to pay the $1,000 fee to break my contract. The fact that you have to pay money to quit and break your contract, what can they do? They can't send you to jail. They can't hit you. Is it bad for your credit? I just would not be able to do that. I don't know exactly how, but at some point last year, my Spanish teacher was teaching 2 virtual classes at once for a week. Yeah, last year, I taught multiple classes at the same time. They can take your certificate. Oh, I lost my certification. I can get it back later, though. I'm at a better school now, but it's still not perfect. I really enjoy watching your videos. You inspire me and make me feel understood. Thank you. And thank you for building this platform so that hopefully we can share our education system. This is anonymous from a student. It also has a meme. Our high school was divided into 3 small schools. The schools were created based on what career you saw yourself going into: business, health, arts. The art school received 0 funding and we ran out of paper one year. I think it's important to note that 90% of the minorities in the area and 80% of the students that are LGBTQ plus community attended the art school. The health school went on yearly trips to the East Coast. The business school had incredible workshops for extracurriculars like glass blowing, while the art school had to fight to stay open. So there's my meme about it. Okay. Anonymous from Colorado. I worked with special needs middle school students. They are 1-to-1, which means each student needs 1 para with them at all times. Again, para is like a teaching assistant kind of. This year they put 4 high needs students in my classroom with 1 teacher and 1 para. Turns out that's not sustainable because they are all one-on-one students. 1 kid would constantly be running around the classroom. 1 would be trying to destroy the classroom. 1 would be ripping his shoes off. The other would be singing loudly on a relaxed day. Now imagine this with a teacher who gave up 2 weeks into the school year and didn't provide any educational material. I am the para in this situation. Paras get done so dirty. I'm the parent in this situation. These kids do not have a constant schedule, and they had so many behaviors because they didn't understand what was going on. Kids need a schedule. That's one thing. They need a constant schedule, and that wasn't something we could give them with only 2 people and 4 high-needs students. Every day was about survival and making sure no one got hurt. One kid would force himself to throw up just to get out of doing a task. It was chaos. It was too much. I begged admin to get more paras or to pay me more, and they wouldn't. They said they knew how hard it was, but there wasn't anything they could do. So instead of paying me more, they would pay other teachers to sub in our classroom, teachers who did not know how to interact with special needs students. Again, like, you need training to do that. Like, you need training to interact with high needs students that have very specific needs. And if you're not trained to do it, you're not going to be effective at it. Like anything in the world, you have to get training to be able to do something. So while I'm making $17 an hour, they're paying other teachers between $75 to $100 an hour. Who's paying subs $75 an hour? Are they hiring? That's more than I make right now. To just come sit in our classrooms and help for an hour. That is absolutely fucking batshit crazy. I used to teach 50 plus kids online music virtually at once for 30 minutes, K through 5, 5 hours straight, not even a minute between classes. Jesus. Paras are the backbone of schools. I hate that they're so mistreated. They're so valuable. Yeah. Okay. So I had enough. I told them I needed 2 weeks off to deal with mental health caused by the school. They agreed I could have the time off. This was after having to file 3 different workman comp cases for injuries that caused work within 2 months. Injuries that could have been avoided if we have adequate staff. After saying I could have the time off, admin called me 2 days in and said that I needed to be back or they would fire me. I didn't care at that point, so I just told them I was not coming back. Miss those students every day, but could no longer continue to cry every day driving home from work. It was a bad environment, and admin tried to help, but did not care that the special needs department was drowning. So many admin don't care about special needs departments. As long as there wasn't a lawsuit from parents, everything was hunky-dory. But if a parent knew what was going on, so many would have sued. I should have sued. It's never too late. Actually, it's not true. There is like rules about when you can sue and not sue and all of that. A teacher just got suspended for hitting a kid in the face for wearing a hoodie inside. Can teachers just like relax? I've never understood the hoodie thing. Like, who cares? I skipped one. Okay, anonymous, a student who did no work for the entirety of the 3rd quarter. I called and emailed the student. I called and emailed the parent to let them know and offer my school support to help the student. The student barely passed 3 quarters, so he failed for the year. On July 1, 2 weeks after the end of the school year, the parents called the school demanding to change the grade because they had no idea their kid failed Q3. I really don't feel that much sympathy for that because, like, pretty much every district in America, you can check your kids' grades online. Like, just check your kids' grades online. I forwarded admin all my documentation that I had attempted to communicate, and still my principal called me and told me to change the grade to a 65. I was in my first year teaching and I didn't want to get fired, so I did it even though I didn't agree. Don't feel bad about that. If you feel bad, don't feel bad because you were in a tough position and you had to make a tough call, and I understand. So the following year started, and I found out another first-year teacher had a similar situation but didn't back down. She refused to pass a student who cheated on the final, even though the student's dad was the police chief in town, ACAB. She was given an ineffective evaluations despite being an amazing teacher and was let go at the end of her 2nd year. I'm not surprised at all. I've seen so many teachers lose positions because they documented things and refused to be complicit in shady, illegal shit. Yeah. Very depressing. How many slides are in this? I don't remember. Do I know? How many slides are in here? Okay, we're almost done. All right, Sam in Washington State, part 1. Girl, okay, so first of all, I love your... I'm saying yes, ACAB. Yeah, bro. ACAB. Yeah. Like, yeah. That's another topic for another day. Is it though? Because policing developed in America from slave patrol. Just something to know. Hit it with a Google, you know? My district sends automated missing assignment messages every Friday. I get at least one angry email from a parent absolutely baffled that their kid's grade is low, that they had no idea their kid wasn't working. Ma'am, your child has 15 missing assignments. Yeah, a lot of districts like have good communication. Mine didn't, but a lot of them do. As a former teacher, you've made me feel seen and heard. Baja Blast, TLC shows. If you know, you know. Anyway, I was a special education teacher for almost 10 years, loved my students as my own, but absolutely cherished my time in the classroom with them. My career was riddled with demeaning, unethical experiences that turned me into more of an advocate than an educator. However, the pivot to remote learning due to COVID took the cake. My special education director told me at the beginning of the year that I was not to contact her because I asked too many questions and was aggressive. I have also been told not to contact administrators because I ask too many questions when I would ask for like schedules and things like that. Where was I? AKA I advocated for my students, so I had no connections to admin / nowhere to go for support. A combative parent started legitimately harassing me as she blamed me for remote learning. She would email and ping me on Teams chat all hours of the day. It got to the point that I was calling out of work due to anxiety around these interactions as my director was not responsive to my request for support. After about a month, the parent requested a meeting with myself and my director. In the meeting, the parent went the fuck off. She blamed me for remote learning, claimed that I pivoted to this model because I wanted the students to suffer, and stated that she was going to sue me for my salary since she was doing all of my work. People are fucking batshit crazy. That's one thing that I learned is people were fucking batshit crazy. Oh, someone's talking about drug dogs at school. One time they took all the kids out of my class and lined them up against the wall and brought in a drug dog and sniffed all their backpacks, and it was the weirdest, most awkward thing I've ever experienced, and I felt so bad that that happened to them during my class. And then I tried to like talk to the kids, like I tried to like be next to the kid while the police was next to them just to be there, and the police made me stand on the other end of the hallway. Live, laugh, love. Okay. So I tried to speak up for myself, but was interrupted by the director, who agreed with the parent and told the parent as a reparations, I would go to their home and provide one-on-one instruction to this student. That's what my meme is about. Bitch, what the fuck? In what world? In what fucking world is that an option? Like, then the director can go do it. Like, if that's what needs to be done, that's why directors make director money. Go do it. Have fun. Bye. At the beginning of COVID, when I had 6 classes and a caseload of 30 students, I refused, hung up, and immediately wrote my resignation letter. Good for you. I wish I could say this was the only story of this nature that I have, but it's only the most recent. Thank you for giving me the space to share. You are welcome. Parents got so mad that they had to be involved with their kid. Yeah, I didn't really get that because I taught high school and I teach general ed, and so I didn't really get much like parent anger with that, but I know elementary, y'all were going through it. Okay, Anonymous from Phoenix. I'm a SPED teacher. SPED means like special education. I always thought SPED was like, you don't say that, but then I heard in education everyone said that, so I say special education personally. Admin at my school was a complete shit show. We've gone through at least 3 admin changes since the start of the school year. In January, one of my paras, who has worked there since the beginning of the school year, got pulled out of class to see the school's AP. When she returned from the meeting, the para told me that the AP asked her for her fingerprint clearance card. I picked this story because this is stuff that I think parents have no idea about, these kind of things. SPED is messed up. Kids use it as an insult. That's always what I thought. And I never thought it was appropriate to use, but in the education world it's used all the time, so I was kind of confused about that. I always thought it was used as an insult, so that's why I say special education or like a special education student, things like that. Anyway, her fingerprint clearance card, a requirement that is needed to work at any school in Arizona, even though ever since she had been hired in August, she had not been asked if she had any type of fingerprint clearance through the state, and my school had no records of any kind of background checks being done on her. Luckily, she did have a card and was cleared by our state's Department of Public Safety, but that could have turned out so bad. Come to find out later, there were 5 to 6 other paras who did not have fingerprint clearance at all. Most of them had been employed there since the beginning of the year as well, although the school is assisting them to get their fingerprint clearance. Now, for all they knew, they could have hired really bad people to work with these vulnerable special needs children. So much shady, illegal shit happens at schools, y'all, I'm telling you. I'm still in shock because they allow paraprofessionals to drive students on routes, change them in the bathroom, take them off campus for field trips, and work alone with them, which by the way, most of these students are nonverbal. If I was a parent, I'd be pissed. Even as a teacher, I was pissed. Exactly. Like, someone could get hired into that had horrifying things on their background check, and if no one even bothered to check, you're putting these students into such a vulnerable and dangerous situation. I thought it was so bad. Now I'm in special education and hear it a lot. I was shocked at first. Yeah, I'm glad other people are having that same experience. Though it doesn't seem like a big deal to not have a fingerprint cards on file, it can make all the difference in the world if you hire a predator and you don't even know. Not rare at my campus. There are many people working without a fingerprint clearance, but definitely something that should never happen or is unheard of in other districts. Washington State in a district that's considered one of the best ones. Last week, my resource team at a middle school presented what we think our model for the next school year should be. My 2 teammates and I spent 6 weeks putting together the proposal, talking to general ed teachers, other middle schools in the district, and collecting data. We understand inclusion is important, but we recognize 15% of our students were failing miserably and admin poorly directed to plan a full inclusion model. I'm pretty sure inclusion is when you have special education students in a standard classroom. I'm pretty sure that's what inclusion means. Again, I'm not an expert in this. Someone correct me if I'm wrong. And it can work great. A lot of students who are special needs can thrive in a traditional classroom, as long as they have like the support and the accommodations they need. But I've also seen some students who get put in an inclusion program and are not thriving in that classroom environment, and that's not the best environment for them to be in, what have you. So a lot of people have mixed feelings about it. We created a 2-year plan that included pull-out classes, and our assistant principal goes, okay, but here's my plan. She shows us how we will continue to do full inclusion, but will be required to begin co-teaching next trimester without any training. Her reason for doing this and not our method is that I've seen it be successful so far. We're all quitting at the end of the year if we make it that far. So many administrators literally just do things because they like saw it somewhere. They're like, oh, I saw that and it looked good. And there's like no research behind it, no logic behind it, no reasoning behind it. They just saw it and were like, now me do that. Like, it's insane. Inclusion is technically considered the best method according to ADA, but a lot of schools don't have the resources to make it good. Exactly. I think inclusion can be awesome. I have never had an experience where the proper resources and support were in place. So I see how hypothetically it could be awesome, but I haven't seen it done super well, at least in schools that I've worked in. Anonymous student from Colorado. There's a football kid in my high school named Big J, and when I say large, I meant he was like 6'5", 300 pounds, ginger kid who always had those vibes that made you feel uneasy. He was always hot-headed and consistently perverted, but because of how large and honestly a little sweaty, this person's like really coming for this person, many girls accepted his advances. One day, junior year, he wrote a very descriptive story about shooting certain people. This was 2015, so definitely before they started putting fobs on all the entrances. But after many mass events, my school did not have fobs. We were not secure at all. At all, we were not secure. There was cases where literally like random people walked into the building, just like off the street. And we were like, who are you? And they were like a random person. So when the student body found out about it, we were genuinely upset or concerned. But we also tried to nervously laugh it off because the faculty did nothing. I think he got a couple days of in-school suspension, but literally nothing happened. If this had happened in the post-2016, the era I became so politically left, I would have not gone to school and probably caused a riot on Twitter about our school not doing anything. We're lucky nothing came of it. But now my sister is attending the same high school where a homophobic racist kid bullied her in a group chat and titled it Slave Trade with a pic of Hitler. Jesus fucking Christ. My dad left work in the middle of the day to go scream at the principal. Hell yeah, Dad. Police were called and they did absolutely nothing. Oh, well. These boys have been doing stuff like this to her since middle school and they've never done anything. He threatened to go to the media about it. They practically begged him not to. Changed kids' schedules so their paths wouldn't cross and transferred another kid to a neighboring school. But little discipline happened. It's a fairly white upper middle class school. We are neither. It's frustrating to see your district downplay constant and harassment and concerning behavior from boys. Did your district ever handle conflict or scandal poorly like this? I'm sure they did. I'm not aware of the specifics of it, but give your little sister a hug. Poor little baby. So anonymous teacher from Florida. I work in the same district as the MSD Majory Stoneman Douglas High School, I think, the Parkland school. Every year, Valentine's Day, we have an early release where we do service projects, and it's actually really cool. What's not cool is my school disregarded the mental health of all their teachers and made us complete a state-mandated mental health course within the same week of this tragic anniversary. I think my students had to complete the same thing. I'm in Florida as well, and I remember this. I spent 2 days prior to the anniversary of this event teaching suicide prevention for the entire school day with no support from admin. It was so traumatizing, the whole department tried to call out so we wouldn't have to do it. Then on the day of the anniversary, they sent out tips on how to help our students through the anniversary. Our oldest students were 13 when it happened. They sent absolutely nothing for how to help our staff. I wish more parents would go to the press too. I wish more parents would go to the press too. So, So many districts do so many things like this that are just like tone deaf. Prince George County Public Schools in Maryland, instead of having an admin present for IEP and 504 meetings, which is legally required, they send an extra counselor. Parents ask all the time where admin is and counselors cover. They're always on campus. There was always an on-campus emergency, but there never is. I think they mean they would always say there's an emergency, but there was never actually an emergency. The admin just believe they have better things to do with their time. Students with IEPs and 504s are terrified of their counselors. For example, one of my coworkers has Tourette's. One of my coworkers' students has Tourette's, and one of their tics is yelling foul language. The counselor actively tells the student they're faking it, and last time it happened, the counselor reported the student to their AP and wrote the kid up. They were suspended. The counselor is proud of this and tells people that they fixed the problems because the student saw consequences for lying and acting out. The student still has these tics, and the teacher just don't mention it anymore because they don't want the student to get in more disciplinary trouble. So many teachers are protecting students from bullshit like this. It's crazy. That's why it's so hard for teachers to leave, because you know that like the kids are losing someone to protect them and advocate for them. The counselors are trying to take away supports for the student because of this, but they have a doctor diagnosis. Just one example. It's so bad. So, holy shit, that was depressing. That was very depressing. That was all of them though. That's all I have for you. Here's the link to submit. Let me open this bad boy up and send it in the chat. So if you have a story that you would like to submit, there is the link to do that. This was very depressing, but I did like doing it because I hate happiness, I guess. But it's just like, it's good to have solidarity and hear about what other people are experiencing, and it makes me feel a little less crazy and all of that. If I didn't have my teachers advocating for me in high school, I wouldn't have graduated. My mom was literally homeless. Shout out to Miss Cook for saving me. Shout out to Miss Cook. I think we're going to dedicate this to Miss Cook because she's holding all of us together. Let's do a positive stories stream too, not toxic positive. That's a good idea. I should do one where people can submit like a story about a teacher that had a really positive impact on them. I'm going to do that. I'm going to do that. That's a good idea. Thank you, Pepper May 22. You're so much like Miss Cook. I just realized it. Okay, well, it's 9:35. I have been working for 12 hours now. I'm entering my girl boss era literally every day. I'm going to tell you what my schedule is like now. This is not complaining. I'm actually really proud of myself and really enjoying myself, and I feel like I'm like really like elevating into the next stage of my life. I wake up every day at 6:30. I do a Peloton class every single day of my life. Actually, I don't usually do it on Saturdays. I wake up at 6:30, I go outside on my balcony, I drink my coffee, I do a Peloton class, then I like do stuff around the house, clean, do dishes, whatever, stuff like that. And then I go to work, and I work from 9 to 5:30, and then I get home, and now I'm doing this. So yeah, I'm enjoying it though. Everything I've been doing, I'm really excited about. How does it feel knowing you've become better than the rest of us? So unfortunately, the whole waking up at 6:30 a.m. to do a Peloton class, if you went back 2 years and you found me and you were like, hey, 2 years from now, you're going to wake up at 6:30 a.m. every day and do a workout class, I would have been like, oh, am I being held hostage and tortured into doing that? But I started working out for my mental health because I was in a really like traumatizing relationship and with like my work and in a really toxic romantic relationship like a year ago. And so my mental health was really, really, really bad. This is when I was like doing TikTok still, and sometimes when I go back and watch videos from that time, like sometimes someone will like one and it'll come up and I watch it and I look at myself, I don't recognize myself. Like when I look at myself, I'm like, damn, like I was going through a lot. Like, and I didn't realize I was going through a lot. Like I thought it was normal and that's just what life was, but it was like a lot. But anywho, if you had told me that, I would have been like, I'm not doing that. I don't exercise. I hate everything. But then I started exercising for my mental health, and it helped a lot, like a lot. And now if I don't exercise, I have a hard time sleeping and I have really bad anxiety, which I used to just feel like that all the time. But now because I'm usually feeling much better, I notice it more. And I used to work out, like I would get home from school at like 2:33. And then I would work out at like 4. But now that I don't get home until 6, I was like, I just know myself, and I know I'm not going to want to exercise after being at work that late, like that late in the evening. I'm just not going to want to exercise. And when I was teaching, I had to wake up at 6. So waking up at 6:30 isn't hard for me because I was like already in the habit of waking up at like 6:15. So yeah, I hate like when I don't usually tell people that I wake up that early and do that because people are like, what's wrong with you? That's insane. Which it's just like the best way for me to run my day to make me not have sad thoughts. But peace and love. Adios.